So I know this isn't the traditional type of video I normally do on the channel that is like anime or manga related, but I felt like I really wanted to talk about this because in a way it is anime inspired, but also it really gripped me. Just sitting down and watching this 25-minute like just project that was made, this pilot episode for this series, I was like, yo, I gotta discuss this, because this is exactly the type of stuff in terms of like content and just storytelling that I actually really like. And to kind of get into the anime themes for a second, this is the soundtrack for Digital Circus. This is, you know, what came out, and I'll discuss more about this in a second, but this is the soundtrack. And if you take your eyes to the bottom left here, I'll scroll down for you can see it, the soundtrack is literally called Get a Sekai. And anyone that knows anime and manga, light novels, etc., knows that is definitely an anime, manga, light novel term. So, once again, it is not a stretch to say that a lot of this series is inspired to a degree by psychological and, I just guess, supernatural type anime and light novels, etc., because it definitely has all those type of themes, even like an SAO type theme going on here, and I'll get into that all in a second. But I want to take a moment to really just take a look at the view count here. This aired 2 weeks ago on this YouTube channel called Glitch, and honestly, I never even knew about them. I didn't know they even made content. Like, I never heard of this YouTube channel before, and my friend recommended this to me, and I was like, okay, let me check it out, because I like Has Been Hotel. I like, you know, Hell of a Boss. I'm a big fan of creative animation works that's made on YouTube. I think it's very interesting to see the talent and the creative freedom that is just on display. And so, I sat down, I watched the Amazing Digital Circus pilot, and at first glance, when you look at, like, how it looks here, like, I'll just do a random, you know, little segment here, you know, it looks it's, like, fully 3D. It looks very cartoonish. It looks like it is just a straight-up kids show. That's exactly what it looks like. You know, first impressions, if you knew nothing about this, you would say that this is just straight up like a kid's cartoon or something. But there is nothing further away from that than just what really happens within this episode. Like, this final moments, like some of the final moments of this episode, where our main female character, Pomni, is just running through pretty much the back rooms. Like, this is the back room slash, like, Stanley Parable, if anyone's ever played that, you know, that game, or knows about the back rooms. This is exactly what this looks like. You know, 100%, you know, the team that storyboarded this and designed this segment, I truly believe that they're a huge fan of the back rooms and stuff like that, because it gave me that type of vibe, even SCP type vibe going on here, and I was just like, yo, this is interesting. So, let's get the groundwork. Let's actually talk about this, and why am I even making a video on it? Well, this really gripped me because when the series first starts, like this episode, this is the only episode out currently, basically, this starts off where a girl gets transported into this middle of, like, a play. Like, it's a circus play going on. She doesn't know what's going on, where she's at, etc. And, you know, as it's revealed later on in the scenes, is that, basically, she wants to take off this VR headset. She put on a VR headset, and she's trying to, like, take it off, and she can't, and she cannot get out of this game world, whatever it may be, and basically, it means she's trapped here. And if anyone has, let's say, watched or read, like, different series that is affiliated to, like, VR, MMO type anime or light novels, then you can already see the comparisons here. That there is a lot of similarities, a lot of things that are taking, you know, inspiration from those sources and using them in a very fun way. Because you have this character that basically is transported here, and she's like, what's going on? What's happening here? She's like, is this a dream and all that? And you have everyone else here that you would assume might be NPCs, but are actually people that are also trapped in this world, and they've all have their different ways of, like, coping. Like, some just basically say, like, oh, you know, yeah, you're in a dream, or so, you know, this is just like, you know, I guess you're actually stuck in a game or a different world, you know, this is how your body looks, etc. Different things like that. They all have different ways of really coping with the situation and kind of explaining it. And, like, Jax here, he's this guy that's just a straight-up jerk and just very blunt as well, and all about self-preservation to a degree. He's a very interesting character. Really like him. But, the point of the matter is that she, as a character, does not want to accept that, you know, she's stuck here, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, you put on a VR headset and you don't know what's going on, you're going to assume that, you know, it's a glitch bug, or, you know, maybe it's a dream or something, because there's just no way that this could potentially happen. But as reality slowly starts to set in, and that, you know, she's stuck here, and that she can't even remember her own name, it starts to get really ridiculous. Like, yeah, that's another thing. All the characters that are, or all the, the main characters and the people are brought into this world, they do not remember their OG name. Like, they just have to come up with a new name, they're given a new name, and it's just like, oh, that's kind of messed up. So it's like they really do have to create an entirely new life in this reality. And I mean, if you're stuck in this reality for a very long period of time, eventually you might even forget what you looked like. And there's a lot of segments that happen throughout this, to where, like, you have characters look in a mirror and they notice what they actually look like, and, it has to feel very weird, seeing your body look very different than what you once were in, like, this digital space. And also on top of that, most of the characters, they have given up, like, straight up given up on escaping, because there is no way out. And there's characters that apparently have tried to escape, and you can see one here, and they went literally insane to the point that they become, like, this abstract entity. And so when I think of this abstract entity, it's like Lovecraftian to me. It feels very eldritch or Lovecraftian, and I'm like, yo, this is interesting, because it gives off this vibe of a very innocent, cartoonish nature, but when you really look at just what this episode is trying to convey, it's very dark, very depressing, and it's like anyone would lose their mind insanity if they were stuck here for long periods of time, especially in a digital space where you have just, people that are so bonkers looking. It's like, oh my goodness, like, let me out of here. But anyways, this abstract creature is actually a person that just lost their mind, became abstract, and at the end of the episode, we actually get to see how the abstract creature is dealt with. He's literally slung underground, like, he's literally just thrown into an abyss section, and it's like, oh, so the fact that, this creature got thrown into, like, this basement where all the other abstract entities are, show that there's been a lot of people that have died in this world, or they're not necessarily dead, they're trapped underneath everything, and it's like sweeping everything under the rug until, like, the sewage leaks from, to the surface, so to speak. And so a lot of people are just straight up, like, dead. Or just trapped, like their souls are literally trapped in here. That's the impression that it gives. And it seems like anytime someone probably abstracts or, like, goes crazy, a new person has to come into the mix. That's at least my impression. The reason why Pomni, our main female character of this story, came into this world is probably because one of the characters, which I just showed briefly, abstracted, went insane, and, so there needed to be a replacement. That's my overall 2 cents on where the story is actually going. But anyway, shifting gears for a little moment, I want to appreciate the art style of this, and just how the tone of it also feels very, I guess, unsettling. It feels very uncanny to a degree, and let's explain that. So, once again, first impressions, when you look at this art style, it does look very cartoony, but, you have a lot of dark things that continuously happen throughout this episode, little dark little entities that appear, etc. And it's just like, it's very reminiscent of Madoka Magica to me. If anyone has, like, watched Madoka Magica and has went into it blind before, like when they first started and they watched the first and second episode, they're like, wow, this is a very cutesy, childish show. They get to the third episode, and everything kind of flips on its head. And I feel like a lot of elements of that, like the uncanny or just cutesy nature of that, really is on full display with this show as well. And I like just what has been demonstrated with Digital Circus. This is a really good pilot episode that I think just really showcases the talent that is behind this project. There is a lot of people that are putting a lot of talent into this, and I really love stories that just make my mind really think, and just like, what's going to happen, theory crafting, etc. Because it makes you wonder, what did she see? Like, what did Pomni see? And that's another element I've yet to talk about. Like, you have this whole void section where it's like there's apparently nothing out there, but according to, what we have here is that apparently if they go too far out, there's spoilers or whatever, and most likely if you go too far in the void, I'm going to assume you can escape. That's my educated guess. But obviously, this AI entity here doesn't want anyone to leave. This guy here is actually called Kane. And FYI, if you don't know anything about Kane, I don't know if this is going to play a role or not, but Kane, in terms of mythological terms, it was actually like the first vampire in, like, just myth and stories. Now, I don't know if that, like I said, is going to play a role here, but that is interesting to think about. And also, Kane was technically, if I remember correctly, the first person to commit sin as well. Or, like, the first, like, man after Adam and Eve and stuff to really commit sin, the first murder, etc. So, yeah, I don't know if that is a theme going to be played here with that or not, but, regardless, this guy here, Kane, is not someone to be trusted. He's definitely a liar, and he even talks about, you know, how he could control everything besides people's minds, which I think is an indirect lie, because I do think that he may not be able to control minds, but I think he can't control other things as well, because the episode leads you to believe that he has all-watching eyes, that he sees everything going on, but he did not know that Pomni was going through an exit door and all of that, and, you know, as far as she was in the void until she actually reached that certain perimeter, and then he got a notification. So he was completely unaware of this information. So he clearly doesn't have all-seeing eyes like he says. He just has an alert system that just tells him where everything's at. So that is something for food for thought. I don't think he was being very truthful about all of his knowledge of trying to keep everybody here, etc. It seems like he is trying to be a good guy, keep them entertained and all that, give them objectives to make sure they don't lose their sanity, but I do think that there is an overarching thing going on here, and probably a third party at play, because we gotta think about this. We can assume that Kane is most like an NPC or an AI, because they were mentioned at the beginning of this video. But secondly, we can assume Kane, the way his overall interactions are, he's an AI, which means someone had to create him. Someone had to make this space, this world, so there is a party there within this world, or outside this world, that has created this, and I feel like this whole backroom segment where our character is just running through the backrooms trying to figure it out, and she sees this PC, most likely is like where the actual game was created, and maybe this is an insight to where everything originated from, and maybe how to escape, etc., and I think that Pomni probably saw something that really did scar her, that spoiled probably what really is happening. But, yeah, overall, the Amazing Digital Circus. This is an absolute incredible gem of an animation. The CGI is impeccable, to the voice acting amazing, and the eerie tones. Like, I'm just gonna briefly play a few seconds of this, but like, it sounds so innocent, but it's so good. Like, the music is so good as well. I really am impressed. I'm very happy to see they got 37 million views on this. That's actually insanity. For 2 weeks, 37 million views. So I'm willing to bet you most of you guys that are watching this video right now, if you've made it this far, have actually already seen this, or at least heard about it, because it is definitely not something that is, you know, not well known. 37 million views is a lot. But, like I said, I'm impressed. There's a lot of intricacies within this, a lot of hidden detail, symbolism. You know, you can really dissect a lot of this when it comes to the character designs, to the king pieces, to the mask and all that, of the sad and happy mask. You know, there's just so much here. I mean, also with the gesture-type outfit that Pomni has, kind of being like a clown or having to entertain people, which in a way she is that because she's the main character and she has to entertain the audience, aka us. And, I mean, this could also be like a complete fourth wall breaking thing. Maybe the people actually watching this, maybe it is in a game show or whatever, and people are watching this thinking everything is fine, but we as the audience are watching it. You know, there's so many layers that you could potentially apply to this, maybe get too deep, maybe go down the rabbit hole too far, but it has a nice, unique, like, anime-inspired vibe with, like, Alice in Wonderland as well, with the psychological tones, the abstract art that really just stands out, and using old designs from classic cartoons. Like, Jack straight up looks like he's out of like a 90s, 80s, like, old, I guess, like, toy cartoon thing. Pomni, you know, just looks like the traditional jester. We have this chess piece and all that. I don't know. Just, it was amazing. It blew my mind. I was really blown away. Like, a few years back when I watched Hazbin Hotel and Hell of a Boss, I really enjoyed those pilot episodes. And if you don't know, Hazbin Hotel is going to be getting an actual full release at the beginning of next year, if I'm correct. And I'm excited for that one. But, I'm really happy when I see content creators on YouTube, on this platform, make something truly unique that just stands out and just feels like a breath of fresh air. It doesn't feel like it is copying so many things that came before it. It really tries to be its own thing. Yeah, it's very clear that the Amazing Digital Circus takes a lot of inspiration from many different sources, but they respect those sources, and they've elevated different segments of those sources into its own unique vibe with this. And I think that everything in terms of the setting, to the color palette, to the animation, it has everything going for it to really just make this a phenomenal series. I do hope that this gets enough funding and support to be able to get a continuation. I'm assuming it is. You know, 37 million views. That's not little, and the comment section, obviously, is definitely wanting more. People are diving into theory crafting and stuff, so it's definitely loved. This is a very loved first episode, and I can see why. I legit can see why. Really good. But I guess I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, I know that this wasn't a traditional type of video. I know that there's probably people that have dived into this, you know, first episode a lot better than I have in terms of diving into the intricacies and the symbolism and just the plot, etc. But this is my overall impressions. I'm not really trying to analyze everything. I'm just giving my impressions on how I felt about it, and I was just like, you know, I want to talk about this because one of the big reasons why I even made my channel was so I could talk about things I'm very interested in, and I felt this was very interesting to talk about, and yeah, just shout outs to this work. But okay, tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe, stay healthy, everyone. Chibi outs.